So I am so happy to bring to the stage our keynote, Winning in the Omnichannel Era. It's Rohan Cherian, VP Digital Customer Technology, and Ryan Belitz, Director of Digital Engineering and Delivery, both from PetValu. Come on up. Help me welcome them.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Let me just see a quick show of hands of how many people have pets in the room? Wow. Oh, nice. Yes, amazing. That's what we like to hear. Okay, so I'm going to throw out a few words that you guys have been hearing over the last few days. Convenience, loyalty, trust, conversion, insights. These are some of the words that you hear that comes up when you start thinking about what does it look like to win in the omnichannel era. We're going to have some slides, kind of, not slides necessarily, but some videos, like a reel kind of come up here in a bit. We don't necessarily have any slides or presentations. We're really just going to spend a little bit of time telling you some stories about what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what we do differently. Ryan and I have had the pleasure of, or maybe his misfortune, of working with me for the last close to a decade. We've covered multiple different technology industries and retail industries. And part of it, what you don't hear when we talk about winning in the customer experience and what that strategy looks like is things like stability, performance, engineering, optimization. So our core message today is going to be specifically from a technical and an engineering lens to kind of give you a sense of what happens when you need to bridge that gap, when you need to bridge that experience. So we're going to take it a little step further from PetValu so that we can talk about our journey a little bit, specifically to pre-COVID. Both of us work very closly at Toys R Us. Rest in peace. It's a little sad, another iconic brand, but what was amazing about that experience was this was pre-pandemic and into the pandemic. Toys R Us basically went into a severe shutdown like most other Canadian retailers. And we were asked to essentially define what is an essential business. And if the babies part of the business was deemed essential, how do you keep your store open and how do you serve your customers? Yeah, so one of the key things that we learned in that experience was essentially what does it look like to run a store that didn't have BOPIS as a concept, curbside pickup. BOPIS as an acronym, as you guys remember, 7 years ago, didn't really exist and it became a thing. Loblaws kind of pioneered the whole click and collect model, and not a lot of people were doing anything with it. So we were tasked with solving that customer experience and trying to figure out how to actually bring it to life. So Ryan, maybe you can touch a little bit about where you think we kind of unlocked the problem first.
Yeah, you know, as everybody remembers, during COVID, everybody was in lockdown. You couldn't leave your house. You could, masks everywhere, and again, buying essential things, whether for food, everything, it had to be, separation, 6 feet apart, the whole 9 yards. One of the things that we realized very quickly was, while working at Toys R Us, was kids were bored at home, really bored. And I have 3 kids myself, and literally trying to get work done and keep them entertained at the same time, even though they were supposed to be on video schooling, didn't work. It was tough. So one of the things that we did was we were one of the first Canadian retailers to actually implement DoorDash at Toys R Us. We realized really quickly the benefit of doing it. Pre-pandemic, Toys R Us was about a $40 million business online. During the pandemic, it rose up to about 180 million. And I would say about 40 million of that was attributed to COVID directly. But it's things like implementing DoorDash that really grew the business and allowed for same day, next day delivery, which was not a thing, you'd only get it through the apps. It wasn't really offered as a service on many websites. Now everybody has it today. But back then, during the pandemic, nobody was doing this. So we solved that problem by addressing what the customer needs were at the time, and going through that motion.
Yeah. So when you think about what the problem was specifically to Toys R Us, and your parents are stuck at home, exactly the experience Ryan's describing. It's interesting because some of it is tied specifically to the thing that you keep hearing about consistency, right? And one of the big things that came out through that experience for us is we were trying to solve the problem for the customer, where we were essentially saying, hey, we should try to surprise and delight the customer. What engineering hears and what technical teams hear is not about delight and not about surprising and not about the moments that wow. The moments that we actually focused on is consistency. So stop trying to delight your customers, or continue to do that in whichever way you are, but maybe double click and go deeper in trying not to disappoint the customer. And that became a core focus of our engineering principle, where we went deeper into that. And with DoorDash, that was we had 8 weeks, and it's something that had never been done before. And we called around quite a bit, called Uber, called quite a few others. Nobody wanted to take that business because you had to have a fully integrated solution, so we had to manually work through that process. But what was amazing in that experience for our customers, like we did exactly that, and you've probably heard that over the last couple of days, is what does the voice of the customer say? What do the parents want? They want the product, they want the toys, they want the items right away, and it didn't matter if we were building or designing the product and experience, whether it was customer care or merchandising or marketing or engineering. They weren't shopping the site in different parts, they were shopping it as a whole. So our goal was to make sure that when that toy arrived at their door, it may smell a little bit like McDonald's and their fries, but at the same time they got it on time. In fact, we ended up creating a brand new record. We beat some of the Amazon same-day delivery numbers just purely because of the way we designed the inventory control and the integration for actually delivering these products. So one of the key things coming out of that was, your most broken moment in those situations is really where your brand shows up and how your brand shows up. And that's one of the key things we learned, and we leaned on our customer care team. They were our front line. You probably heard that yesterday. We talked about having multiple sources, have a ground source, stay close to it. What are they asking for? That's essentially what we did. We listened in, we leaned in, and we learned. We didn't have to put every single product and make every single product DoorDashable. It was specific things that moms and dads were looking for their kids and caregivers, and that's essentially what we made available instantly. So your weakest touch point is when your brand shows up, and that's your brand moment opportunity. Anything else, Ryan, to touch on? No?
No.
Okay.
I think
Next one, we'll talk about what you're seeing on the screen here. So we are incredibly proud of PetValu. Some of our team members are here. One of the key things about PetValu, so we're the largest pet specialty retailer, and you'll notice that some of the products that we have is only available at PetValu. We have close to 800 stores, if you count Quebec, close to 900 stores coast to coast. Ryan and I have the job and responsibility of making sure all those touch points for the customer, both in-store and online, are available, and always uptime is a big aspect of what we focus on. So same idea that we brought over to PetValu when we were asked to support our business teams and our customer care teams in terms of solving the problems for the customer, was performance and consistency. I'll tell you a really interesting fact about this, and you guys may have heard about this, is the recovery paradox. You guys have all heard that good news travels fast, right? Or good news travels slow, sorry. Bad news travels fast. Recovery news travels the fastest. And that's something we learned at PetValu when we were going through the whole rebrand. So 6 years ago, we did not have a website. Crazy. 2020, 2019, did not have a website. Well, we did. It was more of it was a catalog. It was more like a shopping, browsable site. And we had this opportunity to re-platform the website and provide the customer a much better experience. The experience strategy was not about we completely rebuilt the site from the ground up, but didn't change the look and feel of the site. So what you're seeing is specifically elements of the site that's been rebranded in a sense where the customer knew what it looked like before, and it became intuitive for them to browse and shop. But it was a engineering build up from the ground up, completely headless, microservices, cloud first, API native. We did a ton of work in that space. The core focus again ended up becoming performance and moving away from not just looking at everything as a feature or a bug, but specifically what problem are you trying to solve for the customer? What does discoverability look like? How are they going to reach out to our key touch points in store? Part of our strategy is basically driving traffic into the store. So the site is designed in such a way that it's easy for you to find things. It's easy for you to basically look for products that you're looking for specifically based on your pet or your pet profile once you're logged in. And it's also incentivize you for discoverability. And I can go on about all the various different things we had gone through in the actual rebuild of the site. But maybe, Ryan, you can touch a little bit on, from an engineering perspective, what were the things that went well versus didn't go well?
Yeah, some of the things that really went well were, the design, look and feel, just the intuitiveness of the site. Like Rohan mentioned, we stopped really measuring happiness and we started looking at what is the least amount of effort to start converting customers. Everybody's here in some sort of business. The ideal state in every business is to make money and be profitable. And that's really, the mindset that we looked at. No one wants to come on a website and it takes 3 to 5 seconds for the page to load. You want it to be snappy, fast, click, 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 done. So that's really the mindset that we went at, and we looked at a lot of different things over the course of probably about 6 months, really optimizing performance and really getting the site tuned well for the customer experience. Like I said, the customer is not shopping the site to sit there and wait for pages to load. They want it snappy, in and out, fast, and that was the real message and the driver that we were trying to deliver.
Yeah, we have and one of the things that we're proud of, we were literally just talking to our team about this yesterday, is I think we're one of the fewer Canadian brands that still have a 1-800 number, and you can talk to a real human, no AI. It will eventually, seep into the work we do, and you've heard this before. AI is essentially going to help us in our productivity, in our efficiency, in our ability to deliver and bring everything together faster. But those key human touch points, and our white glove service is our care, we call them ACEs, animal care experts. We call our customers DPLs, devoted pet lovers. It's a whole world of acronyms that we have. But what's amazing about that experience is that customers actually, they want to talk to the humans, they want to talk to the people. When the chatbots kind of pop up and you're starting to chat with them, you're trying to figure out, how do I dial 0? How do I get to the human as fast as possible? That's a key signal. That's a key moment. Knowing how to look for that and knowing how to track that and bring that in through the journey is extremely important. The other thing we also talk about quite a bit when we were doing this whole transformation is living in the messy middle. So what you see is amazing. That's the look and feel. What happens behind the scenes, all of these are built by product and engineering teams that understand the customer's pain points, understands their journey in the store, understands their journey online, but also specifically how to service the customer even when it's a 24/7 store, right? It's our largest store. And the key idea there is specifically tied to measuring. So you may have heard quite a bit, everyone talking about CSAT or NPS. In engineering, we have a slightly different metric that we care about, uptime, performance. But it's not just CSAT though. CSAT, and maybe this is a little bit of a controversy to what you've heard, CSAT's fantastic, but I believe it is a lagging indicator. Your leading indicator will be effort, customer effort. So what does that mean, customer effort? Will they do business with you again? How easy or effortless did you make it for them to interact with your business and make you have more of an experience, right?
I know your background is more on the engineering side, but do you work with the user experience as well? So when you were designing the website, do you also take into consideration talking to customers through the wireframing and setting up of the site?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to take that one?
Yeah, actually, we just recently are working on something. I can't divulge what we're working on, but we have customer surveys that are already out, and we're getting feedback on UI, UX, everything like that, the customer journey, what would work for the customer, what doesn't work, so we know how to plan our feature set going into our, our next quarter, next year, so on and so forth. So yeah, customer, the voice of the customer is really important because that will determine what your backlog is in the engineering space.
Yeah, and it's a good question. It's not that, so engineering teams, technical teams, delivery teams focus a lot on what's the job to be done? What problem are you solving? So when you design that and when you build this brand in a way that can show up meaningfully and intentionally, that's one of the key areas we look at. So everything is by design. Given the age of AI we're in, I think one of the big core focuses also, and we're learning this, it's tough for us, but we're learning how to do it, is security by design and privacy by design, and having guardrails for AI for both inbound and outbound responses. All of those pieces are things we have learned from and we are learning as we go through. We've been classified a little bit as a little bit more traditional, a little bit more AI curious than AI innovative. But that being said, our core goal is still to live in the messy middle. So we've built an assembly line from design, from requirements intake, to engineering, to delivery, to how it shows up in the market, what you guys see when you hit our websites, or even if you walk into our stores. And what does it mean to live in that messy middle? It's essentially owning the data, right? Understanding when our customers land on our website and they input information, it's secure, it's safe, where we store it, how we actually scale that data, how we make it relevant and meaningful for them, so the next time they show up on the website and they log in, they're not seeing cat toys when they registered for a dog. Right? So it's things like that, but understanding that the data is siloed. So most organizations, and you see that in Canada in general, and probably generally most places, is that teams and customers can see that, right? And one of the things I talked about before was Conway's Law. If you've heard of Conway's Law, it's about shipping your org chart. Customers can see that. When your site and your experience feels broken, they can tell. They know. And you know this. Think about your favorite brands. Think about the apps that you've installed on your phone. And when you're going on a website or you go on the app and you go through the experience, you're like, why is it doing that? Why doesn't it have the right price? Oh, did I get my confirmation email? Where's my order? Right? So you go through that whole flow, and all of a sudden you're starting to get a little bit about how the organization is set up internally. So shipping your org chart, and Conway's Law specifically speaks to that, and what we've focused on is building agile delivery teams and pods that don't just build in a silo, but build across. Customers don't shop just a search and discovery experience, or just live in a cart checkout. It's a whole experience, and if it's amazing and it's really good, and if Ryan and I have done our jobs, it's invisible. You almost don't notice it. But when it is a problem, we hear about it ASAP. When things are great, we don't really hear about it as much. But I think that's the idea, right? Living in the messy middle is one of the key core goals that I think you want to have an understanding on when it comes to all those keywords I kind of mentioned before. Convenience, trust, insight. Part of what we've learned in this process is measuring effort. It's more than what you actually see today. Measuring effort's hard. How do you actually measure effort to see if the customer is actually going to come back? You have the standard stuff you've already heard about, surveys, chats, UGC, user-generated content to social media, or tapping into what customers are talking about. But there's clues throughout the journey as you're building, and trusting the voice of the customer is really key. So we lean very heavily on our product team, on our care team to tell us, what are you hearing in the field? What's working versus what's not working? And what's interesting about this is when we did that little audit of that survey the other time, we looked through the database, and it was surprising. Some of the top issues or comments that came back was about email, and not about the experience or the site or the speed, all the things we were typically focused on. So when you look at email, we're like, okay, great, then we need to unpack that. So almost one of the big things is find your most broken moment in your brand and go fix that. It's probably going to be the unsexy stuff. It's probably going to be the stuff that's tied to data. It's probably going to be the stuff that's tied to your architecture or a legacy system that you've been dying to replace. We were literally just talking about this, that we've been working around some legacy systems, and we're probably going to continue to do that for a little while, because you have multiple different challenges. Either you're strapped for budget, or it's a timing thing, but generally one of the core areas you look at is trying to understand how to solve the problem for the customer, because they don't really care. All they care about is interacting with your site, interacting with your brand, and the fact that it is a meaningful, relevant experience for them. Anything else to add, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, you know what Rohan said about emails. Emails were definitely an issue. You know, it still happens today. It's like what he said. It's the unsexy stuff that you really got to dig into and double click into and figure out what is the challenge or what's the wall that you need to climb or avoid, so that your customers end up being happy. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually really basic and some things that you don't want to look at, but it's right there staring at you in the face, and you just gotta go deep into it and figure it out.
Yeah, I think there was one of the things that we learned even, so we used to call them Wizmos at Toys R Us. We have the same different terminology here too, where we talked about Wizmos. You guys know what that is? Does anyone know what Wizmo is? Where is my order? Really popular acronym in terms of, hey, I think you'll find that a lot of customers typically asking for that. What's crazy about that is when you hear email as well as a problem is that is the most easiest thing to actually address. While you're thinking about a really cool feature or a functionality or you want to incorporate AI, if that first question from the customer is, where's my order? And you're wondering, okay, well, this is not consistently working for everyone, something's wrong. And that becomes the first clue. Go solve that. Go solve that in a more meaningful way, in a deep way that's repeatable, and you can actually extend that across the board. So Wizmos was one that we struggled with at Toys R Us and went through the whole process of making sure that was available to customers. Maybe you can touch on the whole traffic light idea that we came up with DoorDash as well. Right?
Yeah, that was a great. So one of the things that we wanted to do, and really this was after post-pandemic when stores were back open and the life returned back to normal, was we wanted to push our customers back into store. And one of the ways to do that was to have them pick up their order. So what we came up with was a traffic light idea in terms of 3 add to cart buttons. So we had the first add to cart button, which was in green, which was pick up in store. The next one, yellow, which was same day, next day via DoorDash. And then the third one in red, which was ship to home. And you'd be surprised how much, just by implementing something as basic as that, simple design, how many people switched their mindset to click the green button to pick up in store. And that led to a lot of more traffic coming into the store, which, again, like I said before, higher profitability. So when people are shopping and just the basics, it's sometimes you have to shop like you're the customer. And if you shop your own website or shop other websites and you really don't look at it holistically or look for problems, you just shop the website, you find out where the brick walls and the troubles lie.
Yeah, one of our core pillars at PetValu is making sure that when we talk about winning in the omnichannel experience and winning in the omnichannel strategy, what does that look like for PetValu? Is making sure both online and in store, it's the same experience all across Canada. So no matter what offer that you have in store or what offer you're seeing online that's available to you, that means making sure when we initially joined, our systems were all separate. Our teams were separate. We changed the org chart. We changed the org structure. We had point of sale systems, digital teams, engineering teams, product teams, design teams all live closely together and owning the entire assembly line start to finish in terms of understanding what that journey would look like. And of course, our job was to make sure that we were focusing on specifically the middle. And when we talk about living in the middle, it means the transition point. When the customer clicks checkout, and that idea, the traffic light idea, that wasn't us. It came from our customer surveys, from the responses. It was hidden in the ratings and reviews. So we combed through it, and this is during pandemic and pre-AI. So working with our care teams, understanding what that voice of the customer looks like, understanding specifically what problem we think we need to solve for them, and then really quickly piloting it out and A/B testing it. And customers will tell you, they're not shy, especially all the moms. They were not shy to tell us what was not working. And they made sure they told us about the broken experiences. And I remember we had a mom focus group, and it was very core to how we actually built out things for Babies R Us. We were one of the only brands that had the side-by-side. Again, we're in an emotional business. PetValu is the same way. It's very emotional. People see pets as a family member. That's why we call our customers devoted pet lovers, because those are the people that actually go the distance, and that's what they're looking for. And they're more than happy to tell us what's working or what's not working for us. And understanding that cue and learning how to actually address that and respond back is really key. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm sure a lot of you heard from other presenters was fail fast, pivot, and move on. Don't look at your failures. Look at your failures as opportunities to make yourselves better and to make the customer experience better. And I think that's really important. And that's something that really everybody should take away is fail fast, pivot, move on.
Okay, that was it. So we just want to tell you some stories, give you guys some examples, tell you exactly what we did for two brands and two retailers. We'll open it up for questions. Anyone have any questions for us? And I know we're like the engineering guys, so you feel like, what can we ask these guys? Ask us anything technical or business. We have people in the crowd that can answer. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elliot. I was one of the speakers talking about infrastructure earlier. I'm going to ask you this. I find it now with e-commerce so common, we're so used to Apple Pay, get all of my information and everything. How do you now meet the expectation of the same of that now back in the store? Because I certainly found that usually frustrating now. They would ask for my membership number, they would then ask for my credit card, like you have all my information, right? Like how do you tie it back together?
Yeah, you want to take that one?
Again, it's really, it comes down to the technology, but email, phone number is usually what you can use to tie back. Not many people, except for me, have multiple email addresses or use multiple email addresses. But I mean, when you're shopping at a particular retailer, you're always going to give the same one over and over again because you don't want to. You want to, if they have loyalty also, you're going to give the same information over and over again to consume, loyalty points, whatever the case may be. So I think it's, it's being able to have your systems talk to each other properly, but also knowing how to tie the data back centrally as well. So again, data is the foundation of everything. Without good data, it's garbage in, garbage out. That's what us engineers like to say. So if you start with garbage, you're going to end up with garbage. So part of it is cleaning up your data and also understanding what your customers need to give you so you can have proper visibility into your data.
Yeah, and I would add that if you're running into that issue with a different experience or having to take him through that whole journey of, hey, can you sign up and give me your information and your email and your loyalty program and your whole process? Of course, in Canada, we have CASLs, so Canadian anti-spam legislation rules in terms of how you can actually sign them up. We look at that very closely. We're literally just working on something like that right now for our preference center on our site when you logged in to your My Account status. But partly it's an integrated payment network too, making sure that you have that. So there's multiple ways. So if you're taking buy now, pay later, and you're taking it online, do you offer the same service in store as well? Customers are coming to want that more. They're coming to expect that's an easy way for us to actually shop, both online and in store. So that I would say, look at your payment network, figure out where your issues are in terms of what's holding you back, and where you could begin without essentially saying, I need to replace my payment network completely.
Home Depot, right? Clearly, Home Depot has my credit card because they know how to email to me. I bought so many things on Home Depot website, right? But in store, they're like, can you sign up for the Home Depot Pro account? I tried. Two-factor authentication failed. No data in store, right? And it was just the worst experience, right? But big company like this couldn't really figure out either.
Yeah. There's tools out there, there's products out there, so we're not selling any products and not endorsing anyone, but there's products out there that follow things like PIDs, so that's payment IDs. So you're shopping online and you haven't registered, but we know when that credit card shows up in the network again. and we know what you looked at and what you probably, so it's a little Big Brother-ish, but not really, because it's still anonymized to the extent where you at least have a sense of, okay, this is what the customer is probably going to look for. So on the POS screen, what pops up when you're just checking out on your own, or if you log on at home. But yeah, it's a great example. Home Depot's got some of that they're working through as well. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Jasmine. Thank you so much for sharing the success story about redesigning the website and launch of the website. I'm pretty sure that you guys continue enhancing the web experience as well. I'm wondering, what do you think that works really well when you try to turn that feedback insights into action and continuously improve the digital experience?
Good question. It's an iterative process. You just have to, like I said before, try things, fail, move on. Trying to eat an elephant in one bite is impossible, as everyone knows. So, the only way to do it is small bites, and that's how you have to approach any feature functionality that you're trying to implement, is take it in small bites and improve it as time goes on.
Metrics.
Yeah, and using the metric, assigning metrics to that feature functionality as well, so that you have the data to use to improve it as well.
Yeah, so the last point on that is, I just read this article from Retail Dive the other day, and they coined it as, you treasure what you measure. So if you're launching features and if you measure it, you can improve it. If no feature basically is built as a one-time, it's a feature, not a bug, and a one-time thing. It probably has an iterative cycle. So to Ryan's point, building on that. So the feedback loop would either come directly from our customers, from the experience, from the shopping experience in store. But if you have data is your biggest insight. That metric's going to tell you how well that feature is doing and how well it's actually performing. Building with that perspective really empowers you to see if you need to expend more time on building that feature even further, or do you just move on to the next feature?
All right.
Okay.
Ryan and Rohan, thank you so much. This is great stories.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate it.